What is the space you're playing in? And for me, it's when I speak to players about their contract and what needs to happen is, do tell your friends that no agent must get money from you. I mean, I gave an example last time about parents who will say to you as a football manager or agent that I'll do anything, just get my son to play football. I mean, if you say I'll do anything, that means you're already even telling your child that do anything to play football. But if the player continues to pay the so-called, agents, and in the name of, he got me a club, well, you know what I mean? I mean, it's tragic for him because this message has been spread wide. They're talking about it in the union. We're talking about it. So I'm saying to the players, young, coming in, new, whether they're with the union or not with the union, don't pay anybody money. In fact, if there's anything, they must then refer back to the union. I mean, it's funny because of late, we almost got into a situation where I thought maybe this episode is actually bringing me and this guy closer every day. Because he calls me about my player in Limpopo. But I had to give him a context. I said, no. There's two sides of the story. So it's not so much about what the club has not done and what done. Because I was involved from A to Z. And I know what the player may have done. And I know what he has done. And therefore, in the protection of him, he must do the right thing. And he did. And everything is clear. So now, what Nhlanhla is talking about is when that happens, and then there's no agent involved, and then it falls back on his lap, and he has to go all the way with the same situation, and ultimately then finds out in between that the very same person who's supposed to be looking after the player is even getting money from the player, but he was not there when the problems arise.
I have to agree with both parties, not to take a neutral stance, but because I agree with both what Jazz is saying and what Shab is saying. And if we look at today at taking on a new client, first and foremost, the question we ask ourselves within our company is, why are we going to do this? Not what are we going to do, because we know what we're doing. We break it down to a very simple answer that if we can make a difference, a meaningful difference in someone's life, we'll get involved.
Every family, and I'm using the context of family so that people can understand that there has to be rules and regulations and the way in which the family is run, which means, and any other person, before I even come to explain that, any human being needs control and needs to be given a chance to know who he needs to report to. Any child who does not report to anybody, come home at 2 o'clock in the morning, does anything he wants, I can tell that child is not happy inside because he can do whatever he likes. And his friend, on the other hand, at 6 o'clock, he must be home. At a certain time, he knows wake up to go to school. This is just how you get the society becoming a good society and becoming good people and ultimately thriving in the world. So the stable, when I say my way, is that you got to understand that players in their own right, they always have a way to get away with a lot of things. And by the way, during that time when it's very hard to deal with that confined space, you become happy later because you realize that this was not actually a highway. This was just someone trying to parent me to become a better player and to become a better human being. And I've used that so many times to my players that I think it got to them to realize that ultimately they're going to be good neighbors. They're going to be good parents. They're going to be good someone to someone else who's not popular. I mean, for instance, Nhlanhla could, right now, he's not a footballer. He could be a next door neighbor of a guy who's been working in just a firm, just an ordinary person. So Nhlanhla should be in a position where if this guy's car is stuck, cannot start on that morning, Nhlanhla can extend his hand to his children and say, let me drop them at school for you, and then whilst you're sorting out. But if you become this big person that is bigger than the world, you'll just drive off because you always see everybody as low and you are this big person. So that's basically what I'm trying to teach these people. And it's very, very important for people not to take it out of context, that it has to be the rules within the house.
I think with that, Jazz, he needs to sort out the phrase. Phrase my way or their way, touches. I think it creates a lot of, I think it misrepresents your intentions and the statement. Because if you put it that way, a young boy who's watching, who admires, who touches and what you have done, things when I have an agent, it's everything that the agent tells me, or I'm going to lose that relationship. Somewhere, somehow, some might get lost in translation in terms of that. Because with every relationship, there are rules of engagement, which is what you're quite correct. Yeah. So with that said, if then they don't comply with that, this is when you come down and you sit and you say, okay, this is how I operate, and you are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and it does not resonate with what we've agreed on in terms of the paper. Can you kindly correct? And if that doesn't happen, I mean, every contract has an exit clause. Yeah. It has a termination clause. It's terminable. So if it's dealt within that context, I think it gives it a better meaning, and it leaves it with a lot of respect as it is, because young boys are going to get lost, which is why boys are contributing their monies, because it's what the agent wants, or he's gone, so now I need to pay. I need to service this person. It becomes a bit of a problem.
It mustn't bring money in it. And I think, and I'm glad that you're raising it now as a direct confrontational statement, and we must deal with it today. So the reason why maybe our players are not doing so well, even international stage, is that there's so much of, it's okay. No, if it's a no, it's a no. So that needs a very tight rope stem man to run this ship. So and from that point on, I think that the diamonds were produced, because then it was a question of, listen, this is the only way to do this. This is the only way I know you're gonna make it.
Because they were manageable.
Absolutely. Also, Rob talks about the endorsement. Right. If I sign a deal with Coca-Cola, for example, I've already promised the director of Coca-Cola that this guy will show up when they need him for shoot. And if he doesn't show up, it's my word and it's my reputation online. So everything has to be tied, because and you must go overseas and see when the players just join the club in a particular club. The coach does not even greet the player, for example. You will arrive, it's like you don't even exist. They're creating something out of you that you become something better. But when you arrive, everybody's got a cup of tea for you. When you arrive, somebody's already polishing your nails, and then it's like, you're like, okay, then I've arrived. How do you then become something better? Because as a matter of fact, you have arrived already, you've got everything. So the statement is not really meaning that if you come to me, whatever I say, goes. I'm saying to you that you got to understand that there's one father in this home. And that's just like where everybody else comes from. They come from families where their dads probably say the same thing. That, listen, if you're not here at 8 o'clock, the gates will be closed. You can go sleep where you come from. And that's that kind of a statement, because it's done within the family setup. It's not consumed badly or otherwise. I was actually hoping that Nhlanhla will say, with that statement, we would love to hear more. But I think I would never condemn a statement that will press people so hard so that they become diamond. And this is not a statement that is meant for anybody in the street. I'm not like saying, the floodgates are open, you come to my place, you're going to be pressed so hard. I'm just saying that once you enter that space, please understand why the team or the people within that space are thriving. And I'm not claiming it as the only way that the players are thriving, but they get a lot of love, they get a lot of support. But what I'm avoiding to do is the situation where you then become, this father that because the child is bringing the cheese on the table, you can arrive anytime. Come home drunk, do whatever you like, it's all yours. I'm saying no. The only way, Nhlanhla, the only way these guys are going to thrive is they must know that if you don't get disciplined and you don't have this feeling of I'm accountable to my actions to someone, we can be sitting here every year, every time, talking about this thing, and all we'll just be saying is we had lost an opportunity to make sure that this player understands playing football whilst it's fun, is entertaining. You've also got responsibility as a player to give back what you need to give. I mean, there's raised, for example, an issue of people don't understand how broken players are. Of course, I agree. We all agree. And if you are involved, you'll even understand where that brokenness comes from. Now, from the position of being a manager or an agent, that's when you start using intervention. But that is done under the auspices of love. But that way is the way that will help them.